Hello, welcome to the first debate of 2022 within the governor's elections runs. I'm joined here today with Mr. Alonso Harris. Mr. Alonso Harris, how are you doing
I
today?
know what you meant. I know what you
Doing
meant.
great. How are you doing?
I'm doing absolutely fantastic.
Wonderful to
So,
hear.
are you excited for your debate?
Oh, I absolutely am. I'm fully prepared and to show the people that I am the best candidate.
Oh, definitely. Right, thank you very much, Mr. Harris. We're going to move on to Mr. Cornelius Snow.
Yeah,
Could you please
so
stand
there
up
was a
for me,
Call of
sir?
Duty Golf, and I
Introduce
got it
yourself.
to read out all the crimes
How's
that
it
I've
going?
committed,
James
just so you
Cornelius
guys
Snow,
know how much
on
shit
behalf
I'm
of
up
the
to.
Conservative Party of Camden.
Well, we can see your.
Oh, beautiful. And how's your day going so far? Are you excited for this debate?
Public masturbation,
Absolutely.
more like government exacerbation.
Wow.
Fuck is Reddit?
Outstanding. And finally, we have Mr. Westwood. Mr.
In the
Westwood,
middle.
are you ready for this debate?
Most definitely. Always.
Oh, definitely. Have you got all your talking points ready? Are you ready to go?
Always. Plenty to say.
These are your fine candidates for the government for 2022. I wish them all the best in the debate and good luck.
Alright, gentlemen, you'll be given 2 minutes to speak on each subject. We will start from left to right, and then go right to left. Third subject will be middle right, then left, just so everyone's starting. You'll have 30 seconds for a response to anyone's point. If at any point you have a response to someone's statement in their 2 minutes, please take a stand, and you'll be called on for a response after their point's been made. Alrighty, starting with Mr. Alonso Harris. Sir, what is your opinion on the new bar school and expanding the DOJ with more attorneys?
I think that they actually stole that idea directly from my platform. I came out with reworking the bar about 2 months ago, and the current government liked the idea, and so they went forward with doing it. So yes, I think it's a great idea, as it was my idea.
I fucking dare you.
Okay, Mr. Snow, do you have any remarks about the new bar school, and expanding the DOJ?
Yeah, absolutely. So we definitely need more active lawyers in the courtrooms. As you can see, there's no judges occupying either of these chambers, and there are definitely criminals that are pleading not guilty to their crimes currently. So that is very important. I've been made aware of Spectre, I believe, Law School, and they're
Yes,
going to be
yes.
trying to produce the finest attorneys on the state of Camden. So that's something I'm personally looking forward to, seeing that they're able to train these people from a very young age and shape them into professional law-abiding
Have you even taken the
citizens
bar
and
exam, Mr. Snow?
attorneys. Have I taken the bar exam? Yeah, I have.
Are you law certified?
I am not law certified now. Is that your rebuttal? Is that what's happening right now?
Well, I'm just saying, I've
Doesn't
taken
Sir-
past
seem
the
like a
bar
very
exam.
Sir, if you would like to
equal
reply to the
opportunity for
question,
that.
please take a stand, and you'll be called on after Mr. Snow has spoken.
I have nothing more to say.
All right, clown. Yeah, that's all I have to say on that. It's a very good idea.
Ad hominem.
Alright, incumbent governor, Lieutenant Governor Westwood. With these allegations that you stole the bar school from Mr. Alonso Harris, what is your rebuttal to that?
Well, firstly, I can confidently say that's not true. It's fantastic that you've had that idea, Mr. Harris, and I celebrate that. But I can say that this idea was actually had a number of months ago by a bar certified member of the bar, Horizon Kachowski. It was his idea, and he did approach the government at the time with it. However, unfortunately, due to some personal issues, was unable to pursue it. Since then, Horizon has reduced his interest in such an idea. Mr. Spectre was kind enough to pursue that. It was not put in action by the government, but it was put forward to the government. So I have no interest in trying to claim it was our idea. It was an idea of a member of this great state, and I think it's a fantastic contribution to the state, growing our list of bar certified citizens. It can only be a good thing.
Alright, Mr.
As-
Alonso
as
Harris,
the-
you got a rebuttal to that?
Yes, sir. Was it not your party and your governor that created the bar exam, that created the issue with having such less lawyers? So there wouldn't have been a problem if you had a correct bar exam in the future, or in the original people. This man is one of the most corrupt people in the government, along with his head of security. They do not want to see you succeed as individuals. They put these barriers in place so you can't succeed. I want to see you succeed. I will remove the barriers. I will allow citizens to become successful.
I know I'm not part of the debate, but can I say something as the owner of the law school?
After the debate, sir, please. All right, Mr. Westwood, what do you have to rebuttal that?
I would like to respond to that. Firstly, I would just like to say there is definitely no barriers for citizens. In fact, this government has done everything it can to remove barriers, open vacancies, and allow people direct routes to a number of opportunities.
Yes, we tell them about the
Now
guaranteed bar.
there is.
Why are you helping him? This man can debate on himself. Look at this.
Yes, thanks
Kieran
very
Westwood
much.
needs Jack Spector to whisper in his ear.
Well, I'm going
appreciate-
to be honest, Mr. Alonso.
All right, gentlemen, take it easy, gentlemen. Take it easy, gentlemen. Let's get back to the debate,
Well,
please.
You can see that Kieran Westwood isn't prepared for this debate. That
Oh,
he
sure it is, but I'm
created
gonna
the
let you know
original
something, Mr.
bar
Alonso.
exam.
You're gonna
Mr.
excuse my
Harris,
skill at being a
Mr.
stolen
Harris,
idea.
please do not speak out of
Come
turn
with
in the
facts.
debate, sir.
Okay, as I was saying, no, it was not this government that created the bar exam. It was created by the president of the bar, which is an independent body. Elections take place from within the bar, and it is an elected position. It was not this government which instituted that examination. And quite simply, as a result, no, it's not our fault that that the minimums are high. However, I think we should all agree that it should be difficult to get a bar certification. We should have great trust in the lawyers in our state, and it should be a challenge. You should have to work hard and learn and develop and grow. You don't have to take an examination, once and only once to get the bar. You can do it a number of times, and that allows you time to learn and grow and develop. And that's the point. It paves a way for citizens who, may come from absolute minimal legal knowledge to grow and become valued, contributing lawyers. And that's what this new academy does. It paves yet another route, essentially an apprenticeship, into being a legal representative. It allows anybody on the street to become a bar certified lawyer. It can only benefit our people.
Well, let's move on from that. That one was a little bit long-winded, but we got a lot of good information there. We'll start with Mr. Westwood this time. Your opinion on the recent judge strike. What will your administration do going forward to ensure this doesn't happen again?
Certainly. So, the strike. My opinion is I'm very glad that the judges felt it was appropriate to go and raise their concerns. I did personally have a sit down conversation with the Chief Justice at the time, and we did come to an agreement. The strike was ended through our conversation. It was simply a case of communication, and I think that's what needs to happen in future. More communication. Obviously, as Lieutenant Governor, I haven't been directly involved with the judiciary. That's not the role of the Lieutenant Governor. However, as Governor, I would most certainly improve the communication wide of the government and ensure that all liaisons are appropriately approached and are comfortable approaching the Governor.
Mr. Snow, I know we already spoke about this, but would you mind giving your opinion on the judge strike and your solution going forward to ensure this doesn't happen again?
Yeah, as far as I'm aware, the judge strike only lasted about an hour. Is that correct, Mr. Westwood? So just a couple hours.
It was definitely a couple of hours.
I mean, in my opinion, judges shouldn't be doing stuff like that. If they have an issue, they should go through the proper channels to make sure that all of their needs are being addressed. So I don't support how they handled it. Their concerns are merited, but the way they went about doing it was not professional. And what we're looking for in judges. One sec. Load up on my 340. Yeah, we're just looking for professionalism, and that wasn't professional, so I definitely condemn what happened, though their concerns are definitely warranted.
Alright, Mr. Alonzo Harris, what is your opinion on the recent judge strike, and does your administration have any solution on not letting that happen again?
Yeah, I definitely do. Mr. Westwood, do you get paid for working for the government?
I do.
You see, this issue would never happen if the lieutenant governor and Lee Bredd, the governor of Montana, properly paid the judges. The judges went on strike because they were underpaid. They were not going to be paid for the first month we moved to Camden. Can you believe that? They were going to be paid $200,000 compared to their normal salary of $2 million. They can't live off of that a month. That's ridiculous. We can't allow this man to continue to lie to you. He has caused these issues. The real problem here is that we are dealing with a corrupt government. I stand for the citizens, I stand for workers, and I stand for the government workers of this state. I wholeheartedly believe they should have been paid in full because they are hard workers and they have always done their job. Thank you.
Mr. Westwood, your rebuttal?
So I would just like to respond to that by saying, factually, there were some errors there. So firstly, the judges did not state that they weren't being paid enough. Their concern was that they were not being paid for their time and their work that took place in Montana before the unfortunate events that caused us to move here to Camden.
Mr. Westwood, don't you campaign on increased communication between departments?
I would appreciate not being interrupted and you following the regulations.
Mr. Snow, please take a seat.
Campaigned on increased communication between departments.
I think Mr. Snow's got a valid point.
Gentlemen, let's
Calm down,
speak in
Alonzo.
turn here. Let Mr. Westwood finish, and then Mr. Snow, you can post your rebuttal.
Thank you. So, as is always the case, should the economics need to move from state to state, unfortunately, citizen-wide payments cannot take place when we move to a new state. As has always been in the past with the unfortunate disasters in the past, unfortunately, an economy can't just be transferred from one place to another. It simply does not work that way. And someone coming into a new state being 2 million richer than everyone else simply isn't fair. It doesn't facilitate the capitalism which should take place in a US state. Everyone builds and grows and builds up, and giving judges 2 million to start with is not a suitable way to deal with that.
So his solution was just to fuck the judges over and not even tell them that they were gonna have an option to not be paid. There was totally an uncalled for lack of communication between himself and the judges.
Yeah, so you're campaigning on increased communication. How long have you been in office, Mr. Kieran?
9 months.
9 months, okay. So you're campaigning on increased communication between departments, yet you did not properly communicate that their pay was going to be deducted. So why should the people trust you in properly communicating with departments in the future? You've had 9 months to...
Amen.
That doesn't really add up.
Apologize, I'm waiting to be called.
Your
Thank
response,
you.
Mr.
Yeah, go
Westwood?
Firstly, as I did state earlier, as a lieutenant governor, it is not my responsibility nor role, and it is not in my interest. I was not put in that role to.
Doesn't
deal
seem
with
like
the
anything's
judiciary.
your role.
Yeah, what do you do?
What do you do?
Gentlemen, let Mr. Westwood have his turn.
He's making a lot of factual claims over here that he's wishy-washy. He's sitting here, he's saying that he solved the issue by talking with the Supreme Court justice, but in fact it's not his problem. What is it? Which is it? Is it your problem or isn't it?
I took it on my shoulders as a leader once the problem arose, once the fire started, to try and put it out, to try and help people, to try and help the people of our state. It became a problem for the average man on the street.
Oh, so you're just the same. You're taking our problems and putting them on your back. It's your cross to bear, isn't it, Mr. Westwood?
Also a case of it became a problem for our citizens, so I felt it my responsibility to step up and did so.
Westwood, we love you.
Alrighty, Mr. Snow, did you have a rebuttal to Mr. Westwood's rebuttal?
His argument is very incoherent, so I'm not really sure how to analyze that and make a proper response.
Just
He's
focus
saying
on
that
the
he
paper.
is responsible for things, but at the same time he's not. So once he can make an argument that makes sense, I will definitely give a rebuttal to that. But that was just complete gibberish.
Okay, we'll start with Mr. Snow on this one. What is your opinion on the allegations of a $50 million governmental embezzlement scheme?
Yeah, that's an interesting one, isn't it? So where is that $50 million, Kieran? We have multiple sources within your own party that you have spoken of and addressed them as, and I quote, liars. So people within your party are liars. $50 million is
$50
missing.
million
Not from
goes
Montana.
missing.
Mr.
Hold
Harris?
on,
And-
Alonzo.
No. $50
Not
million
from
goes
Montana.
missing, and then he leads a revolution in
Camden,
the middle
within
of
the last
Camden North.
month.
Mr. Harris? Mr. Harris, please take a seat. Wait your turn. Mr. Westwood, you may spoke if spoken to.
$50 million. Hasn't even been a month yet. Completely missing, not logged, nowhere to be seen. I think the people deserve to know where their tax-paying dollars are going, so if you had a response to that, I'd love to hear it.
Most certainly the people do, and that's why every single transaction in or out of the National Bank is logged. That money, 50 million, there has never been 50 million in the government account since our move to Camden. Our taxpayers' money has gone straight back into the state to support the infrastructure and support the growth and the re-establishment of our economy.
Support the
I
infrastructure
moved
in
for
what
a
way?
full audit of the National Bank.
How is it supporting the infrastructure? Has anybody
Everywhere.
here in the
Paying
courtroom seen a
paychecks,
single road
salaries.
be repaved?
I haven't seen any
Nope.
bank statements that prove this either.
So are you
Government.
claiming that you're logging government transactions being marked as infrastructure related when in fact it is completely has absolutely nothing to do with that? Is that what you're
Absolutely
saying, Kieran?
not. That's
Okay,
quite a
so
leap.
what are you
That's
saying?
quite a leap. What I'm saying is every single transaction in or out of the government account is logged, from the average citizen's paychecks to a withdrawal for any purpose, and there has not been a withdrawal of any amount for as long as I can remember, and there has definitely not been a 50 million withdrawal or anything totaling 50 million.
Oh, it couldn't have
as
been a
withdrawn.
50 million withdrawal. It could be small increments. It could be 100,000 here, 200,000
Or
there,
anything
maybe
totaling
50,000 here.
to that 50 million withdrawal.
So where is it?
Again, I moved for an audit of
It doesn't
the
exist.
National
The
Bank
50 million never
to
happened.
to show.
Right. It's a completely baseless,
Whether or
coming
not-
from nowhere statement.
I have 3 sources within the moderate party of Camden that have vouched that this is in fact truth.
I think those 3 sources are more than likely on your side, campaigning alongside you.
None of them are. You have my word on that.
Is there 2 minutes
No.
up?
I think evidence is probably about time.
Yeah, I think a full-scale investigation will be launched upon the election results.
All right, gentlemen, let's wrap this one up. Mr. Harris, do you have an opinion on these embezzlement allegations?
Yes. I've heard rumors, and honestly, I don't know who to believe. I don't know if this was a rumor started by Cornelius to smear Mr. Westwood. But I moved for a full audit of the National Bank, and with my Secretary of Finance, Mr. Happy Kilmore. Mr. Kilmore, could you stand up, please? Okay, I guess he's not here right now, but
He stepped out for a moment, I believe.
Oh, did he? Okay, perfect. Well, thank you, Mr. Kilmore. He's quite the financial advisor. You know, he's the current financial advisor for the moderate party, and I think he would be able to do a full-scale investigation now that he has switched sides and come towards the people that stand for their own individual rights. And yeah, that's all I have to say.
Okay, incumbent Governor Westwood, what do you have to rebut against your party committing this embezzlement? Allegations, of course.
Okay, so this alleged embezzlement is most certainly, most certainly didn't happen. I'm not sure where it's come from, but it's completely baseless. I'd love to see evidence, and most certainly I would like to make inquiries if there is a basis to that. But as someone who has access to these transaction logs myself, and a number of agents within the DSA, some of which who aren't big fans of me, simply through standard operating procedure disagreements and such like, have no reason to defend me or anything of the sort. They can see those transaction logs, and they can see that those withdrawals never took place. These allegations are completely baseless from nowhere, simply out of interest of a smear.
Yeah, I can hear you perfect now.
I would also like to just question
Yeah,
why
we'll see.
appointments. Well, I would also just like to question
There's the
why
item you
appointments are being
requested.
made to your cabinet, not in line with the Constitution. No appointments should be being made other than that of the Lieutenant Governor, in line with the Constitution. And appointing these people, thus guaranteeing your vote, is unconstitutional.
Who's that directed towards?
How else do you
Gentleman who has a
suggest we fill
Secretary
the
of
cabinet?
Infrastructure or
I
a
think
Secretary of
that
Finance.
that's absolutely ridiculous. We need to be planning for our cabinets. If we are
Right.
elected, we need to have people in place.
I think Cornelius
you
and I are
think-
both
You
on
think
the
I
same
care
page
about
with this one.
3 votes? No, I care about the cabinet positions being filled by competent people.
Yeah, not
So
somebody
if that's your argument, that's pretty weak.
that doesn't do their job.
I'm not arguing it. I'm more just saying I comply with the
You
Constitution.
just made that argument,
I'm
Kieran.
more saying I comply with the Constitution, as should you. I have plans for my
I think
cabinet.
everybody here
I have
complies
plans
with the
for my cabinet,
Constitution.
but have not
Uh,
yet approached those
Kieran-
people because
Kieran,
I
is
know that they
complying
would
with the
increase my
Constitution
chances of
revolting in the middle of Camden North?
Again,
Causing a
another baseless
revolution last week?
allegation.
All right, gentlemen, let's explore this a little bit then.
Career
Mr. Westwood,
politician.
can you explain this alleged revolution in the middle of Camden North for those
Again.
uninformed?
Again, a baseless allegation. I'm not even sure what he's referring to there.
Hey, Mr. Harris,
Everything's a
can you
baseless
expand upon
allegation
this?
for guy.
Yes, I certainly would like to. Sorry, let me grab a drink of water. Mr. Westwood made several tweets against the government last week, leading to to incite some violence within the middle of Camden North. It's clearly showing that he doesn't care for the people and their safety, that he just wants power.
So
Mr.
again,
Westwood?
Yeah, maybe just say
baseless
that before you just throw
allegations.
your
If
fucking
I were
hands on
involved
me,
in
bro.
such a thing, would I still be in office? Surely I would have been arrested if I were inciting violence. Surely an investigation would be taking place.
How can you arrest a corrupt
wasn't
government
there.
official?
Or was it because the police have the power to do so?
Not if they're corrupt as well, under
I
your
wasn't
thumb.
present at any such event and don't recall making any such tweets. I very rarely use social media, in fact, so there's a damn good chance that wasn't even me. I'd love to do an IP trace on that.
Hello, sir.
Okay, gentlemen, let's move into something a little less controversial. A couple of you I've seen differing opinions on this. We're going to start this one with Mr. Alonzo Harris. How do you feel about socialized medicine and giving free health care to all the citizens of?
I'm guarding the courthouse.
This is actually one of my my biggest talking points. I believe that the citizens of Camden are already paying for this through their taxes. There is no reason that the government couldn't provide for their medical bills. It's $750 to pay the EMS after somebody is incapacitated. This isn't something that's a major issue. Why shouldn't they, be able to cover this? And I already know where Cornelius is going to go with this. He's going to say, do you really want the government to have the power to give and deny health care? And with me in control, absolutely, because I am for the people. I think that I can create a system that will allow everybody to receive health care and nobody will be denied. Because that's not what I'm about. I'm not about power. I'm not about controlling the people like Mr. Westwood. I'm about providing affordable, healthy living styles for everybody and allowing them to flourish and blossom in in Camden.
Yeah, I disagree with that. Socialized medicine is pretty Canadian, honestly. And what I would be doing is creating businesses that are dedicated to private insurance. So what you would be able to do is choose your healthcare plan. If you think that you're going to be downed, keyword downed, all right, guys, let's say 10 to 20 times a day, right? You'd be able to say, okay, $50,000 will cover that. And then you'd receive the benefits from that. Let's say you're going to be down 50 to 100 times a day because you're psychotic, right? You'd be able to choose $100,000. That all have to be fine-tuned and tailored to you specifically, but that way you get to choose your healthcare plan, and the government doesn't overreach and be able to view all of your medical records. That's absolutely ridiculous. Do you really want the government spying on your medical records? That is definitely an overstep. But Mr. Alonzo Harris here would like you to believe that you could trust him because he works for the government, right? Yeah, let's just trust him with all of that documentation. It's completely fine. He's wearing a nice suit.
Mr. Harris, your rebuttal?
of course. You know, is it really any different if a private company has your information? They can still be
It is
hacked.
different. There's
Sir, I'm
there's
speaking.
client confidentiality.
And there's laws that would require government confidentiality.
Yet you accuse Kieran of corruption. So what's to say that the corrupt government officials can that person stop speaking? What's to say that the corrupt government officials aren't going to leak that information?
What's to say there isn't already private insurance companies? KD Guns already provides private insurance for all of its employees. This isn't something that's new. His plan isn't new. It doesn't
My
work.
plan is
We
to use
know that
businesses
this doesn't
dedicated
work. We
purely
are
to
far
this.
behind compared to the rest
You
of the
can
world.
have
The
you can
United
work for a
States.
company.
The
You don't need
United
to raise your
States
voice.
is one
You
of
can
the
have a
only
company
company
that dedicates
is the only. Can I finish
insurance.
my point?
Bro.
I will let you. I will let you
This
speak.
fucker.
The United States is one of the only countries compared to Europe that does not have socialized healthcare. We are far behind, and none of those countries have issues with corruption and all of that bullshit.
Do you know how much those people are paying in taxes? Answer me that. Do you know how much? Let's take Norway for an example, right?
Yeah, sure.
How
Let's
much are
take
they paying in
Norway for an
taxes?
example. An effective tax rate in Norway is actually 30%. You might say it's high because it's a socialized healthcare, but everybody in that system agrees to take part in it. So it's not
Do they have a
really
choice?
socialized. Yes.
But the
What-
healthcare
what's
isn't
their
good.
choice?
They don't. They can go the private route. As would every citizen. Every citizen would have the right to have private health care if they wanted to. I am only providing
You
health
can
care
have
for
private
those.
healthcare in addition to that. You still have to pay that 30%.
You're not making sense.
Help!
I just made perfect sense. You can't comprehend it. You can't handle
Oh,
the truth.
so no, those taxes are paying for people who can't afford health care.
You are legally required in Norway to pay that 30%. If 30% is even the actual
Are you
number.
not legally required everywhere else to pay taxes?
You are required to pay taxes, but we're talking
Exactly.
about medical health care.
And
provided by the state.
I'm talking that it's provided by the state through the rest of the taxes, sir. This would just be enveloped into the rest of the taxes.
This gives people an opportunity to create new businesses dedicated purely to medical health
Then why
care
hasn't it
insurance.
happened? Then why hasn't it happened?
You're going to need to talk to Kieran about that one, buddy. I'm not elected.
All right,
I don't
gentlemen.
think that it's realistic.
Gentlemen, let's
I
move
think-
on to Mr. Westwood's socialized medicine
come
plan,
on, man,
if
alright.
any. The current administration does not have this in place, so his opinion is likely just going to be status quo. We'd like to hear from Mr. Westwood.
Honestly, I'm very glad to hear of the good ideas from both
Yeah, he didn't
candidates.
declare
I think
himself as a peace officer.
I think
and just
that
ran around.
both of you
You weren't, Jimmy. You just put it on.
do apologise.
Alright, is it the guy we just took in? or-
Infuriating individuals over there. Right. I do think both the candidates have fantastic ideas. I think that these two systems could easily work together. I think something opted into would be immensely supportive for the citizens of Camden that perhaps can't afford privatised healthcare. I think opting into something like that would be fantastic. I think that's a fantastic idea. But I also do think that bursaries and grants for independent businesses to offer health insurance for stronger, better healthcare, faster response times or whatever it may be, is also a fantastic idea because capitalism. We're not a communist nation. Not everything needs to be owned by the state. People should have the opportunity to earn, and these insurance companies would be an opportunity to do so, and also an opportunity to feel rewarded for your hard work and your earnings.
Excuse me.
Oh yes, I think both ideas would be a
Also,
fantastic contribution.
I'm not even
I
gonna
hope
bother to
both the
question it.
candidates can see that their ideas could work very well together.
I think Mr. Westwood makes a very good point, and I would be willing to investigate more into Mr. Snow's to facilitate healthcare for everybody. Because my goal at the end of the day isn't to have the government have more power. It is just to make sure that everybody is cared for and has proper healthcare coverage. I think this is
Okay.
something we could all agree on.
Next point, we're going to start with Mr. Westwood. Do you have any tax rework ideas going forward with the administration? Once again, this may just be status quo, considering you've been in power for a while now. Are taxes going to stay the same, or are we looking for a rework?
Well, firstly, I do just want to clarify. I wouldn't say that I have been in power. I am the deputy. I am a lieutenant governor. I am a deputy to the current governor. As such, I deputise for them. I assist them with their role. Perhaps a division of elements of their role. So my policies wouldn't necessarily immediately match his, but I'm part of his team. I do voice my opinions, and so some of my policies, ideas do come through. Now, in terms of tax reworks, honestly, I think right now citizens are in a fantastic place. Income tax is at an absolute minimum, and the majority of the finances for the state and the systems that the government are able to put in place come from the funding from value-added tax on items, which puts an absolutely minimal weight on the income of our citizens. It means that we can support the infrastructure, we can support the emergency services without damaging their income or feeling like they're unrewarded from their hard work.
Alrighty, Mr. Snow, do you have any ideas for a tax rework?
It'd be very minor to begin with, and we'd see where it goes from there. I just want to make sure that every business is profiting. If they aren't profiting, we will do everything within our power to make sure that they are sustaining income. And sorry, I'm kind of drunk.
You drunk?
Yeah, I like to party.
Oh.
But yeah, I agree with what Kieran said. It is in a decent spot right now. We would be examining things that we could improve upon. Obviously, my financial secretary, which you'd like to use against me because I picked him early, which is like whatever, is going to be looking into that. He's been working on it for the past 2 days. And I will definitely be getting back to the people on the government website with that probably by tomorrow afternoon. So definitely stay up to date on that.
Hey, Mr. Harris, your opinions on tax reworks?
Sure. Personally, I think taxes aren't too bad on the people. I agree with Mr. Westwood and Mr. Snow on that point. However, I do think corporate taxes do provide a bit of a barrier of entry for new corporations that are up and coming. Tax rates can be up to 10-15%, which in total sales is, usually for somebody like KD Guns is going to be like, at least $200,000 to $250,000, and anywhere upward to $500,000, depending on how much they spend. I think that it might be hard for new companies, and unlike KD Guns, who is obviously an established company, to pay those rates. So I think we could maybe do some work in that area. I'm not quite sure what it is because I honestly don't know all the numbers. I'm not a part in the government. It would be something that I would have to look at and rework. But I definitely do think there needs to be a change to lower the barriers of entry.
This isn't necessarily in regards to taxes, but it does have to do with businesses. So something that I have planned is if you want to create a business, instead of it being $100,000 to start your company, it is going to be reduced to $80,000 just to give people that little bit of edge on creating their business, having more financial security in that area.
Mr. Snow, do you think that'll have a damper on the government's funds to expand infrastructure to support those businesses?
Not at all, because the amount of businesses being created isn't that drastic, and $20,000 doesn't really add up to all that much. So let's say that's 10 businesses, 10 times 2, that's like what? I'm not really good at math, you figure that out.
Mate, you just ran in and you didn't get searched.
No, the fuck I did! I searched twice!
Is there a reason you're harassing my Secretary of Finance?
What the fuck's your goddamn problem?
Look,
all right.
These people, look, this is exactly the problem. The DSA is led by Kieran Westwood and has created this toxic mentality where they just want to oppress the citizens.
Kieran, are you aware of how much you cost the taxpayers by loitering in public
I just want to
with
confirm
10 security
on that
agents
case,
for the
Stephen.
45 minutes straight? Do you know how much that costs?
Let's get back on topic, gentlemen. There is a DSA topic in this debate.
Yeah, that's important. I'm going to speak on that. That's $180,000 that you cost the taxpayers for 45 minutes of loitering in public. When you could have gone to a security agent.
I don't.
Do you have any comment on that?
That guy's a bit of a fucking idiot.
Any candidate would be expected to. I'll wait for due process and wait for that to be asked of us.
I'm asking you right now. Go ahead and answer.
I want to know
Does
too.
anybody
Why don't
object?
you answer the question? You scared to answer the question, Kieran?
I'm more than happy to answer the question. I'm just aware that a DSA question will be asked later on, and I think it's more appropriate.
Yeah,
to
we could
fully
bring it up
receive
again then. But I'm
Well,
asking
I mean,
you right now.
I,
So
well,
if you
you
don't
know,
want
if
to
you're,
answer, that's
if you're,
totally up to you.
Kieran,
Like
if
me
your
to answer that
dogs,
now, I certainly
Kieran,
can.
if your dogs weren't harassing my cabinet members, then this issue wouldn't have came up.
No,
and
but you hadn't
it
been
is
searched,
the
it just came
environment
up.
that you have
What we're not-
created. So let's talk about
Seriously,
it.
your query earlier about my, my presence somewhere with a number of agents around me. Some of those agents were for both of you individually.
We were not. No, we were deprived of. Isn't that right, Alonzo? We
That's
were both
absolutely right.
deprived of
We
security.
walked all the way down the street, and not
And
one
it
of
is
them
all on
followed
video.
us.
I would
We have it
appreciate
all
less
on video.
interruptions, gentlemen. Let's act like adults.
I'm just
Well, I would
correcting my
appreciate
mistakes,
more
don't worry.
factual
Gentlemen,
statements
let's
from
get
you.
back on subject. Mr. Westwood, I believe you had a rebuttal to Mr. Alonzo Harris's tax rework.
A partial rebuttal. I'm also just wanted to clarify some information. So, I wanted to be clear. Under our policies, my policies which are already in place, businesses are not taxed at 10% of their income. They're taxed at 10% of profits, which gives ample room for growth. And businesses that start out and perhaps don't, earn a strong enough amount that 10% is actually a big dent in their income are frequently given exemptions. And the business administration branch handles this case by case, individually supporting these businesses with what they need most in terms of these exemptions, perhaps sometimes grants, bursaries, or adjustments in their taxation for a short time period to allow their growth.
Any comment on the $180,000?
Absolutely not. I think I think it's a reasonable idea to try and drop that. That amount, of course, does go straight back into the business administration.
No. I'm talking about you wasting $180,000
Can I,
for 45 minutes
can
of
I
standing in the
rebut?
same spot.
Okay, we'll give it to that, Cornelius. Can I rebut what
Mr. Harris, please take your rebuttal, yes.
Okay. Mr. Westwood clearly just demonstrated that he does things by a case-by-case basis. How can a government official not be prejudiced or have favorites on a case-by-case basis? This is corruption at its finest, ladies and gentlemen. We need a overall system, not a case-by-case basis, which allows businesses to be successful and to be up and coming.
He's fucking lying, dude.
Oh my gosh.
Mr. Westwood? Was there a rebuttal to the statement?
Does anybody have water?
If you want a universal
Are
process,
you so drunk that you need a bit of water to become sober again?
No.
someone just handed that to me.
Smoking crack,
I tried to
dude.
give it to you.
Yeah, I need water. Sorry about that.
Buddy, no worries, anytime.
Thank you.
Lonzo Harris lies, dude.
Everything should be handled on a case-by-case basis. The business administration, not me as an individual, does make those decisions, and it's made by a panel of experts who've trained and developed in that area for a long period of time. Everything should be case-by-case. You can't have a universal process for a business. You can't guarantee their income this month to the next. You can't guarantee their staffing, their growth. You can't guarantee any of these things because they're all affected by numerous uncontrollable, inestimable factors. So, yes, it is case by case because that's what it needs to be. As do many things in this world, you can't have a standard process for absolutely everything. I wish you could. My OCD would love that, but you can't.
I disagree with him, and I believe there's a standardized process could be put in place where no favoritism would be shown.
Absolutely no favoritism is shown.
Okay, with that being said, we'll move on to the next topic. Mr. Snow, we did speak briefly on this in your interview the other day. Just want to go over it again for the whole room, just for the topic of debate. Any like main fix to violent crime? How do you plan to lower the violent crime rate in Camden? As we all know, it's rampant.
Yeah, so coordinating with Chief Sanchez on this issue is very imperative to this. It does fall under his jurisdiction. We already have the laws in place to correctly address them. It's just a matter of having the proper response units available to respond to these crimes. I know that house burglaries have been a thing, very rampant. So I would definitely speak with Chief Sanchez about increasing patrols in residential areas to ensure that houses are less frequently broken into, if not completely eliminated. It's been very excessive lately. They haven't been doing too much about it, but they have been dealing with a lot of major crimes that have been taking place. So we would need to come up with a solution on that, which I'd be very happy to work with him on.
Alrighty, Mr. Westwood, your solution to the violent crime outbreak in Camden.
So there's a number of options. As I did discuss earlier, making legal representation more readily available and thus strengthening the entire legal process and indeed supporting the judiciary, giving them something continuously to do would allow them to be more available. Which means, when someone goes away for a crime, they get charged, they get punished, they get an adequate disciplinary procedure in the eyes of the law. They follow a full judicial process
Unable to
and
grab
adequate punishment, and
requesting
as
text,
such,
please.
are
Thanks,
less
fellas.
likely to reoffend. The Department of Corrections also has a fantastic rehabilitation system, offering the appropriate procedures for people to grow and develop, and so that works fantastically. It's just about funneling the people appropriately to get the support that they need and the rehabilitation that they need. Additionally, as stated previously by my fellow candidate, there is a problem with the
Light me up again, please,
state
big man.
police being called to major crimes pretty much continuously. Unfortunately, that is the a major problem in the state. We do have a number of angry criminals who see that as a way to gain an income, and I think we have other law enforcement agencies in the state which would be greatly beneficial in a time like this. Crime shouldn't ever go
Please
ignored.
don't smoke on duty, Harrison.
Crime shouldn't go ignored just because there's other things ongoing, and there are a lot of other law enforcement agencies in the state, such as Department of State Affairs or the Sheriff's Department, which could be responding to these things while the KSP are busy in agents.
That's a very good point, Kieran, and I'd like to bring that up real quick. So, you're saying that DSA should be responding to these house robberies? Yeah, that's basically what you're saying. They should be their purview should be expanded. Okay. Totally agree with you on that. Absolutely agree. So, back to what I brought up earlier. Do you think that it was a good use of DSA agents to have, what was it, Alonso? I believe it was 8 or so surrounding you for a solid 45 minutes. Do you think that was a good use of their taxpayer dollars and their services?
I think that's a
when they
really
could
good
be
point,
responding to this
Cornelius.
stuff?
I
Not to
want to
mention
speak on that a
the
little bit
fact
if you
that
don't
you've
mind.
had 9 months to implement something like this. You have the ear of Governor Brett. You have the ability to
Can I-
implement stuff like this. You are the lieutenant governor. You
Got
could
my
have
2 minutes.
completely done this. No, you can't. You could shut the fuck up and let me finish.
Nope.
You've had the
Why do I hear
ability
an
to do
echo?
this for 9 months, and you haven't done it. So why are you running for governor on stuff that you could have solved as lieutenant governor? That's a very good question. I think that people deserve to know.
I'm running for governor because I'm not a dictator. This is a democracy.
If
I
ain't
can't make
Mr.
independent
Brett.
decisions and go and
You've had the
individually
ear
go-
of Lieutenant Governor Brett.
and having someone's ear doesn't mean I have their agreement all the
Have
time.
you brought this issue up with them
Of
before?
course.
And
Of
you
course,
just
these
rejected
conversations
it?
have
Okay,
been had.
I
and
think there's more
disagreements took
things that we
place.
can address in this, and I would like to address those things.
Certainly, I will just I will hand it to you in just a moment. I do just want to, try and respond to that question about the 8 agents. Now, yes, a number of agents were present. They were there as protection. They were there partially for yourselves. They did hang around partially for yourselves. But
No, they
additionally,
did not.
Again, if I could. Additionally, important piece of context is that I had a threat against my life, and a number of agents had been informed also of that threat directly through phone calls, and as such, security had been heightened. You will notice that very rarely do I have more than one agent, and sometimes not even that one agent with me is close protection. I had a number of agents with me because there are a number of agents available, and I had threats. It's contextual and it's more than logical. Those costs are rarely there because rarely do I need that level of protection. So it certainly balances out if we can respond to it and match the resources required at the time to save money.
Mr. Harris, I don't even think you've spoken on your opinion yet on violent crime fixes.
I haven't. So, yeah, my opinion on violent crime is I think there's fault on both sides. I think Mr. Westwood speaks far too highly of the KSP DOC and doesn't recognize the violence that they commit on and terrorize the citizens. Officer overreach and overstep and abuse of public office has been a problem since this government started. And honestly, I think we need stricter IA to crack down on these police who are overreaching their bounds and abusing prisoners in DOC. I've had several people come to me and tell me that they've been beat with batons, tased, crash tackled for no reasons by multiple cadets, DOC officers. I mean, what is their training program? More on this, I think that there is a issue with violent crime, and I think that we can fix that by reworking the criminal code. I think we need to move towards reform and not punishment. The current way that the system is set up is we're just sending people away and not reforming them. There is no active attempt to change who they are. They're just sent away and expected to know what they did was wrong. You can't change a person just by sitting them in a corner. I also think that reworking the PDO and DAO would be a great overhaul and would allow us to crack down on violent crime, both in the police department and on the citizens who are committing it. Because the DAO, honestly, hasn't been around ever since Oliver Shaw took control of it. And I would actively work to make sure the DAO is prosecuting these criminals and making sure that they're not a problem in our state.
Mr. Snow, your rebuttal.
I tax blacks.
No rebuttal.
Okay, we will start with Mr. Alonzo Harris. Well, sir, what is your opinion on bringing back security companies and security licenses?
I'm all for it. You know, more business, more business, more opportunity for people to get jobs and grow families and become successful citizens and contribute to our society. So I don't think there's an issue with, I don't see a reason to restrict any certain type of business. I think we need all kinds of business in this state, and definitely more security with the amount of violent crime going on, as I just talked about.
Mr. Snow, your opinion on security companies and bringing back the security license?
With the current percentage of crime being committed by the vast majority of Camden, I don't see a gun license being possible for Class 3. I am very heavily pro Second Amendment and believe everyone's right to carry a firearm legally. However, there's just way too much gun violence at this current time. For Class 3 licensing, that is. Keep that in mind, Alonso. I definitely consider proper policies and legislation for businesses to carry Class 3 licensing. So, for example, like if you're a legal business like KD Firearms, Blue King, Red Burger, etc.
No more imports.
Absolutely, any legal business.
On top.
I feel like they should have the right to carry Class 3 weapons if they have the proper licenses for that, because they are moving a product. They're trying to make money to put into the economy, and they need to be able to protect that product. So that's my view on that. As for regular civilians, I don't see that being a possibility. That's just way too many guns with too high crime right now. But businesses, absolutely, Class 3s.
I 100% agree with him on that, and I do think we need licensing expansion for Class 3s so citizens are able to properly protect themselves. The creators of our Constitution
That is
said
not
that,
what I said.
Uh-huh. What? The expansion licenses for Class 3s for businesses?
That is what I said, but
That's
you
what I
just said
just said.
citizens.
Oh, I meant businesses, my bad.
Okay.
I apologize if I misspoke. Yes, I'm speaking specifically about businesses, and they should be able to protect their product as violent crime is rampant in our state. And I think this would be an easy fix. So yes, I think Mr. Snow is doing is going on a good point here.
Mr. Westwood, your opinion on security companies, seeing as the current administration has not been issuing licenses?
Of course. I would, of course, welcome any person who wants to come and be a capitalist, but also protect people and give them the adequate security. Licensing additional firearms, I will come back to in just a moment. The administration currently in place has reduced the level of security licenses. That is most certainly correct, but that's simply down to the demand previously. Back in Montana, we unfortunately had problems where the demand just wasn't in place, or the availability for those companies simply wasn't in place. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't try. So both of the candidates I would agree with on this occasion. More companies, more licensing for those companies, as long as they have the adequate training, adequate expertise. Certainly, why not? It would increase security, and it would come back to also to deterring the crime that we were talking about earlier. Now, I realise the question wasn't directly about licensed firearms, so I hope you'll forgive me in just bouncing back to that. But since the other candidates were mentioning it, Licensing for Class 3 firearms, I don't agree with. I realise a lot of people will be a little bit upset about that, but I think we have law enforcement officers across the state who are trained and equipped with these firearms. And yes, we've talked earlier about their availability, but there are other solutions other than putting more firearms into a already intensely armed situation. And yes, our wonderful constitution does allow us to carry firearms, and in fact, I do carry a personal carry firearm myself, as I'm sure the candidates do. But a Class 3 firearm simply isn't necessary for everyone. I don't think any of you would accept me walking in here with a AR-15 on my back. I don't think it would be appropriate for everyone to be carrying these things, but I certainly think that allowing licensing for things like security companies to have stronger firearms, not necessarily Class 3s, perhaps Class 2s, would be greatly beneficial, and again, deter crime and support the growth of these businesses.
So something that I would like to mention
Well,
that
I was
didn't
standing
bring
first,
up.
Cornelius.
Yeah, mine's more
Sit back.
important.
No,
though.
no. sit
Mr.
back
Snow,
down,
please
Cornelius.
let Mr. Harris post his rebuttal. Mr. Harris,
Okay.
where did you go?
Officer, could you yell for me?
What's
You
up,
know,
officer?
speak up. Okay. On average, how long does it take for you to respond to a 911 call?
So it all depends on our abilities within the Camden State Police. Usually, when I'm around, usually takes me about 10 minutes due to how far the distance of the 911 dispatch. Basically,
Thank you.
let's
Thank you.
say.
I appreciate it. That's all I needed from you.
Yeah,
Thank
no
you,
worries
officer.
then, mate.
So
And dog
I go to
years?
say that 10 minutes is not enough. Is a really slow response time. A criminal with this violent crime, we could absolutely kill you in those 10 minutes. So yes, there is a need for Class 3 licenses, Kieran.
Okay.
Mr. Snow, you had a
So-
rebuttal?
Yeah, it's not a rebuttal. It's I'm just going to bring something up. So
Okay.
I would be open to creating legislation to where you are able to own a Class 3 so long as you keep it within your household. Due to the increased robberies with these houses, being able to properly defend yourself at your home if it is being broken into, I'd be okay with that as long as the Class 3 for citizens that aren't associated with businesses, those stay within that house. So I'd be open to exploring some options with that.
Mr. Harris?
I also think that just expanding Class 3 licensing would bring more business, more gun manufacturers
Alonso
to.
Harris! Alonso Harris! Fuck you! Don't disrespect First Inspector!
What the fuck's going on outside?
Oh, any police gonna do something about it?
What's going on?
Yo, it's